Hello, everybody. I wanted to register a few of my thoughts having just watched Enemy of the State for the second time. The first time I saw it was when it came out in 1998, and it's kind of been on my mind to see it again just because there's so much about it that is very revelatory as far as the surveillance state goes. I remember even when I saw it in 98 and I wasn't that thrilled by it as a movie, I still thought, wow, what if things were really this bad? What if they're really spying on us to the degree that they depict them spying on us in this movie? And by them, you know who I'm talking about: the powers that be, the government, the military-industrial complex, the our corporate overlords, what have you. Well, having seen it again, I've got to say, aesthetically speaking, it's not a great movie. It's pretty mediocre, and it doesn't really pack the same kind of punch that other movies of the period do in retrospect, particularly Wag the Dog, which you can go back and look at my review of or my assessment of, I think in a prior video that I recorded maybe a few months ago, and as well as the remake of The Manchurian Candidate, which came out a little bit later in 2004. But still, both of those films, I thought, watching today in retrospect, are more, head exploding. Wow, revelation of the method. They were just showing us what they were up to this whole time, kind of thing. And back in the 90s, those of us who were around were just fairly naive to it. The film has in bit parts Jack Black, later to be known for School of Rock fame, and Seth Green, who at the time was appearing in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the TV show, and later to be known for Isaac Cappy-related infamy. Both of those guys are in bit parts as like they're playing techies. They and other younger guys are these tech savvy people who know how to work the drones, who know how to work the security cameras so that everyone can be spied upon when the time comes, and if there's a need, legitimate or illegitimate, doesn't really matter. The powers that be don't make a distinction between what's right and what's wrong. It's just what's in their interests, what they can get away with. If there comes a time where they need to cover their tracks of some dirty trick that they've played, or some murderous act that they've committed, as is the case in the movie, then these techies are at these people's disposal. Watching this movie now, 23 years down the road, at the time that it was made, the internet was in its infancy. To think that it's been, if it's as bad as they depicted in the movie, and surely it was, at least as bad as they depicted in the movie, how much more, levers at their disposal must they have to really know everything that's going on with us? And we know that they're completely shameless about violating our privacy whenever it suits them. How many more ways do they have to do it now with the internet? Hell, people intentionally have Alexa in their homes now. They do it on purpose. They want some spying device in their homes, or on their smartphones, or whatever. In a lot of ways, people do it voluntarily, and I mean, I don't I don't completely exclude myself, since most of the conveniences that I have are from owning the phone that I do, and I can film my videos there and upload them, and I have GPS, which enables me to get from one place to another, much more easily than ever before. Uh, the whole idea of trying to get directions from someone as to how to get somewhere, or write down directions on a piece of paper, pick it up and look at my what I wrote and trying to make out my chicken scratches and all of that. That's not really the case anymore with GPS. So a lot of conveniences, but the downside is that the grid is much tighter and it bears down on us more and more. Now, I'm still not sure. I don't have a definitive stance. I'm somewhere between Michael Malice, who thinks that technology will be what ultimately brings about liberation from these kinds of tyrannies, and Ted Kaczynski, on the other hand, who, gosh, he wrote his manifesto in 1995. Again, when the internet was just barely around. Whatever issues he was tracking with, whatever he was correct about, those have multiplied to a great extent. And here we are, right? 2020. Does anybody really feel free, even in places in the world, where they're not bashing you over the head and shoving you down the street and spraying you with mace if you dare to leave your home and take part in your God-given right to demonstrate? Does anybody really feel that free? I sure as hell don't. Anyway, back to the movie. I'm not going to really recite or regurgitate the plot of the movie, because it's kind of paint by numbers sort of stuff. Again, not terribly impressive. It's watchable, sure, but in no sense brilliant. There are a couple of things that really stood out on an esoteric level that made me say, "Wow!" Again, kind of, you can't see the top of my head, but kind of mind-blowing stuff. But there were very subtle things. First of all, there's a throwaway scene where Gene Hackman, who plays this former NSA guy who got screwed by the NSA and now he's a free agent, and so now he's off on his own, but he knows all of their tricks and can keep tabs on them, just like they use their old tricks against them, the same ones that they use against everybody. He's looking into the villain, played, of course, by Jon Voight, who's just incredibly generic, kind of sneering-faced, punch-in-the-faceable bad guy who wants more power and control and all of that. Anyway, nothing particularly interesting about the character. But what is interesting is, in a throwaway moment, Gene Hackman's character goes back and says, well, born 9/11/40, so we have a 9/11 reference. And again, this is a movie that was made in 1998, 3 years before 9/11. But this is not quite as striking as the thing in The Matrix, where Neo's passport the date on Neo's passport is September 11th, 2001. And there's tons of things like that. Just look up. I think you can still find this on YouTube if you just type in 9/11 predictive programming. There are so many things that you can see from commercials and TV shows that were made years, even decades prior to 9/11, that really make you say, wow, that's pretty interesting. And yeah, sure, some of them might be just, sheer coincidence. I'm sure that some of them are, but you really got to takes, the sheer volume of it really makes a person who's honest with himself have to take stock, like what's going on here. And so that was an interesting moment. They didn't have to tell us his date of birth, did they? Like what significance was that? And yet they somehow, the script has us, tells us this guy's born on 9/11, 9/11/40. So there's that. Also, this is a crazy thing, and people are gonna just, I don't know, some people are gonna just be like, so what? Andy, you're really grasping at straws here. And other people are gonna be like, yeah, that's pretty damn interesting. And here it is. There's a moment in the movie where Will Smith, the hero, the main character, his son, I believe is named Eric. And he's got a friend, and we find out later that his friend's name is Dylan. And there's a scene where the maid says, Eric, Dylan, come out now. And so Eric and Dylan getting in trouble together. There's an Eric and there's a Dylan getting in trouble. This duo of kids who are mischievous. And this is 1998. Okay, 1998, a year before Columbine. I think it was late in the year 1998. So mere months prior to Columbine, we have Eric and Dylan referenced. Are they, they're not that atypical name of a male name, of a name for someone to give their kid. A little bit more unusual for a black kid to be given one of those names, which is Will Smith's kid in the movie. But still, that the as predictive programming goes, that's another one where it's sort of like, yeah, that's kind of interesting. And if it would not evince any kind of reaction or response in anyone. Those two names in tandem, Eric and Dylan. People would just think, so what? Until Columbine, and now you hear the names Eric and Dylan together, and it's you can't help but think of Columbine. So I don't know, make of that what you will. Given that this is a movie that reveals things, that pulls back the curtain and shows us what's there, given this movie's function as revelation of the method, that bit of predictive programming is also kind of interesting. Even if you think it's sheer coincidence, it's interesting. So again, this is Enemy of the State it's not as good of a movie as Wag the Dog. It's not as well written. It's not as interesting. Of course, Wag the Dog was written by David Mamet. I don't know who wrote this, but probably some hack. Still, as a compendium of 90s movies or early 2000s movies that really show a lot more of what's really going on than meets the eye, I think it makes an interesting companion piece, both to Wag the Dog and to the remake of The Manchurian Candidate with Denzel Washington, which came out in 2004. So what do y'all think? Have you seen this movie lately? Do you think I'm right or wrong in my assessment? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. My name is Andy Nowicki. You can check out my work at altrightnovelist.com. Please find my latest book, The Insurrectionist, that can be purchased from terrorhousepress.com.